So why aren't they buying from you? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Why aren't they? Now, this video is specific about why aren't they buying Invisalign from you when they said they want it. But regardless of the business owner you are out there, why are people interested in a product or a service, but why don't they buy? And too oftentimes, the easy reason to come up with is money. They don't have it. We're too expensive. So therefore, a lot of you, instead of innovating and coming up with really cool ideas to overcome the confusions, the roadblocks, the things that get people to say, let me think about it. I need to speak with my spouse. I'll get back with you. Rarely is it the price. And we're going to talk about several examples today on a national webinar that I did for Align Technology, the makers of Invisalign. But anybody out there that wants people to buy from them, use your imagination on how these things can apply to whatever business you have. This happens to be to our niche in orthodontics. So if you're ready to learn the real reasons people are not buying from you, let's go.
Welcome to the Brian Wright Show audio experience, a podcast dedicated to transforming lives, careers, and businesses. And now your host. He's a husband, father of two, an international business and life coach, the founder and CEO of New Patient Group and WrightChat, and a consultant and global speaker for some of the finest companies in the world, such as Invisalign and many others. Now, here's your host, Brian Wright.
Welcome in, everybody. And they asked for Invisalign, so why aren't they starting? Why are they not buying from you? I really like this one. You know, the toughest thing for me whenever I'm putting together a webinar like this, it's like, where do you go? There's so much to talk about this subject that literally it could be a 3-day workshop to get it all in. So what I did tonight, and you'll see, is I think there's several mindset shifts we need to make, and also several things that you can take away and start implementing. I typically, if it's something you have to role play 1,000 times, I don't want to show it to you because you're not going to be able to go implement it. So there's a lot of things you're going to be able to go do. And let's have some fun together. If you're returning from part one, I'm glad you didn't have enough of me. So hi, welcome back. And if this is the first time you're jumping in the middle of this 3-part series, hey there, appreciate you spending some time with us. And just real quick, global speakers disclaimer, I am a paid independent consultant by Align Technology. And don't record this or anything. This is being recorded. They're gonna send it to you. And if you do record it, they're gonna come for you. So you better watch out. All right. So let's get going. I want to get the elephant in the room out because typically I think people easily default to money. Right? Why didn't they buy? Well, it was a price shopper, or they said we're too expensive, or do we need to lower our fees, which is never what I would suggest doing. What we teach is businesses, whether it be a hotel, which we work with, restaurants that we work with, or our main niche, all of you in orthodontics, we always teach you to always go up, 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 up in price. But as you do that, you've got to learn how to sell your value. And that's the only way they will justify that price. But what I don't want you all to do is think money is the reason, because whenever we think money is the reason they're not buying, it's very easy to ignore a lot of the innovation, a lot of the things that are actually happening that keep them from buying. And that's what we're going to walk through tonight, because the reality is, and the real reality is, we are bombarded, right? The psychology of the deep dive effect. And I love this because it's so true, is the abundance of information and choices can lead to no action or the wrong action now or in the future. And this happens to us all. I always use the get in shape analogy. It's easy to get, everybody understands it. What most people do, if they say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, what most people do is they hit Google and it's like, should I be vegan? Should I eat all meat? Should I make my own? Should I do this? Should I do that? What workout should I do? And 6 months goes by and you haven't done anything, when all you had to do is get in the floor in the morning and start and do 10 push-ups. Now you're on your way. That's typically not how humans are, though. We're not necessarily quick starters like that. So what's happening now, because people are shopping more than ever before, is they're getting an abundance of choices more than ever before, and they're confused. It's causing confusion, and it's causing information overload, which is in many respects what the deep dive effect is. It's the excess of information available to a person aiming to complete a task or make a decision. And what this leads to is it impedes our decision-making process, resulting in a poor decision. Right. And we're going to dive into how can we simplify this? How can we be proactive with this? And we're going to dive into several things And this kind of proves it. If you've seen me speak a lot, if you listen to the podcast, we're big on consumer data. We're big on taking, how Brian Wright feels as an example, take it out of the equation and let's just look at the data. If the data says consumers want more video, let's use video. If the consumers say this, let's do that. Right? Let's just take our bias out of it. Well, here's one, right? As people call 5 or more practices before deciding which to schedule with. Right? This is a big problem in healthcare. But if you train your receptionist right, this is actually a unique opportunity while everybody else complains about it. But right now, we only have a 62% new patient call conversion, which means you drop 38 out of every 100 incoming calls to your practice, which is why I tell everybody you don't need more marketing. You need to train your people different. You need to run your processes different. But I bring this up because this shows the deep dive effect, right? We're calling one practice and getting this response, another practice getting this response. We're hearing all this information. And then what do? We go inside 3 practices. And now we're getting confusing messages. So if somebody comes to you and they say, let me think about it, and they don't buy, even when they were interested in Invisalign, honestly, this is for anything for that matter, there's reasons for it. You may be the fourth person they've seen, and you told them something different than the other 3 practices, right? So let's look at this confusion, right? We can't imagine this scenario, right? You're shopping, you're calling around, you're at your GP's office, which more on that in just a second. And you hear, we can't do it with Invisalign. And then you hear the next doctor say, we can do it with Invisalign. Sure, we knock this out all the time. Then you hear, you're not a candidate for Invisalign. Then you hear, you are a candidate for Invisalign, right? These are people that have no expertise outside of knowledge they find online. And this is why one of the things all of you need to do is consistently make an outreach to GPs doing Invisalign as well as not, because one of the biggest confusions I see is GPs telling patients Invisalign is not a solution for you. You are not a candidate when they actually are. Right. So then you already have confusion. And what you also get is the person that never calls you because an authoritative figure told them Invisalign is not even an option for you, which is why you have to educate the GPs on all these different great clinical outcomes that you're doing with Invisalign. Right. So we have this confusion, honestly, a lot more. Like, think about the scenarios, looking on this is they want, remember part 1, right? How do we get people turned into braces or Invisalign, excuse me? If they walk in wanting braces and now you're hitting them with, you should do Invisalign instead, it can create confusion. It can create and I don't care what environment you're selling in, confusion leads to people not making a decision in your favor, right? They don't buy. Right? What about if mom wants Invisalign, but the kid wants braces? What if mom wants braces, but the kid wants Invisalign? Right? What if a person's in between Invisalign and braces? What if they're adamant about braces? All these scenarios, right? All of these, if not handled properly, lead to people thinking, I need to think about this. I need to talk to my spouse. I need more time. And think about all the roadblocks too. And this is why leadership is always the best marketing, because if this is where your brain is all the time, you can always be coming up with these really cool, innovative ways to actually use these to your unique advantage, right? The roadblocks, you walk in, somebody's really interested in Invisalign, like, I really want it, but we don't have the insurance verified. Good luck with getting them to buy right then. Right? We do have price and how you present your price. We're going to be talking about some things today on the financial presentation, in fact, that's going to help you tremendously, because a lot of times, hey, I want Invisalign. The way we're presenting money actually sounds expensive. We may not be affordable and flexible. That's different than expensive, right? The decision maker they've got to talk with, confusion, like I talked about. Maybe they don't feel that you're convenient enough. Maybe they're wondering, do I have time to do this? Maybe they don't fully trust you, right? Yeah, they go through the process. They're like, man, I don't trust this practice enough to say yes right now. Maybe they have a concern, and this would be my wife, by the way. Maybe they have a concern, but they don't voice it. Right? It's pretty hard to overcome a concern somebody has if they never tell you what it is. Or, and this would be me, I would voice the concern, but if it's not handled properly, I'd have my doubts in you. Right? Back to lack of payment flexibility. And then I think more than anything, it's reactive processes. So everything you can do in business, I don't care what business you have, but this would apply more than others. And certainly in the orthodontic world, it applies a lot. is a lot of the things that you're doing is reactive and you may not realize it. What we're going to show you today is that some of the things that you're doing that are reactive are causing you that same day start. It's causing that person to not sign and say, let me think about it. And we're going to dive into some of those things. So what we have to do is we have to use the framing effect. This is a powerful psychological terminology. You should study it. You should master it. Really, this is what we do, through teaching the leadership team how to be great leaders, do the right culture, and frame things differently to their employees. When we work with digital marketing with customers, how do we frame it differently online to make you look different and unique, right? And the other one is how do we teach the team to reframe their language through high-level sales, hospitality, presentation, et cetera, skill sets. One of these is you must know psychology, period. It's one of the most powerful things you can do is knowing what to say, when to say, how to say, why to say. And that QR code there in the upper left is to a podcast about this. Obviously, you can go much more in depth. You want to scan that and really learn in-depth stuff about the framing effect. But what it is a cognitive bias where people decide on options based on how they're presented, right? So what we're trying to do is get people to draw different conclusions based on what is perceived as the same. Now, you may be a better clinician than the other three opinions, but if the team doesn't know how to create that value and articulate that, then you're going to be perceived as the same, right? You have a website, you have social media channels, you have iTero, right? So you always have to be going, how can we frame this interaction at this moment in the consumer journey, the patient journey? How can we frame it differently to create more value? And if we do, we're going to get more people say, let me sign that contract. And same day starts, which is really what we're talking about, right? They come in, they're saying Invisalign, why aren't they buying? Same day starts is harder than ever before. And it's harder than ever before because they're shopping so many different opinions. They're more distracted than ever before. Consumer demands are more than ever before. So you got to keep up with that and stay ahead. And the way you do it, and we're just coming back from a great Align and Shine event in San Diego. Kicked that off on Friday. It was awesome. Loved the event. Audience was amazing. And this is what we talked about amongst a lot of other things, is you can never be transactional, singular focused. And too often times in orthodontics, right, we look at the treatment coordinator, and if the conversion's high, we go, man, your treatment coordinator's awesome. If the conversion's struggling, we go, what's wrong with you, treatment coordinator? When in reality, when you want real change, you have to look at the customer experience journey. Remember, customer experience, patient experience, is every touch point before and after sale. That's what it is. That's why I founded this company on that principle, in the belief that great experiences for your team and your customers drive culture, sales, revenue, and anything else you want to accomplish. Think experience. And if you're innovative that way and you think that way beyond whatever the numbers are telling you, you will always win the long game. But when we're looking at this, the green circle is always your best investment, because without it, none of these other steps will ever change, and nothing you'll do will ever get implemented when you're not looking. The blue circle is what's called persuasion. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight, because those blue circles, everybody, that is the key to your same day start right there. Now, that's probably not something you've heard before, but the psychology backs it. And if we look at those three things different, now we can be proactive and we can have people psychologically prepared and ready to buy when they walk through the door, right? But it can't stop there, though. That's where these pink circles come in, right? Now, we're not going to be talking about OBS tonight. We're going to touch on the rest of these and walk through this journey together and how we can do it a little different and lead to a higher let's buy now, same day start situation. All right. Let's look at persuasion. So persuasion is the ability to cause people to have something at the top of their conscious that makes them receptive to your message that is really yet to come. Right? The practice of getting people sympathetic to your message prior to experiencing it is really that in plain English. So you look at this definition and you say, wow, man, boy, I think we can do things different on digital marketing. Like, digital marketing is not about posting. It's about knowing the psychology of the consumer to get them in a place where they become sympathetic to your message. They start to get closer to going, not only am I going to contact this place, I actually want to learn more when I walk in, and I think I want to be a part of their family. Like, that's what digital marketing is. And there's a way to do it. Same way with the new patient call, and same way with these pre-arrival concepts when we talk about it. And really, it's a concept called priming. Famous restaurants do this, right? They order too much French wine, they're overstocked. So what do? They train their waiters in a way and they play French music, and you end up buying more French wine at a higher price. Priming works, and it's exposing a person to specific words or images that create a particular psychological state of mind within the subject. So as an example, obviously we can't do this exercise because I can't see hands or anything, but looking at that, do you see a letter B or a number 13? And typically, if you're in a large audience, it's about 50-50, right? So obviously it could be either. But what if I wanted you to see it a certain way? Like, what if I wanted you to start same day at my office, right? This is where priming comes in, right? If I wanted you to see that as a B instead of the number 13, I would show you patterns like ABC. I would do videos and audios and visuals to get you primed to see it the way I want you to see it. Same way, if I wanted you to see it as a number 13, right? I would give you a bunch of number patterns. So this concept applied before people walk through the door is very powerful because of anchoring bias. So anchoring bias is us as humans. We rely too heavily on the first piece of information we were given about a topic. So everybody watching, this is why you can never, under any circumstances, say what the total price of treatment is first. And that's not how TCs typically do it. Right? I've brought up really thousands now of TCs over the years on stage and worked in practices. And typically we're saying, hey, Invisalign is, insurance covers this. Invisalign costs $6,000, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get to more of that here in just a minute. But the reason why I can get you to see it as a 13 or a B is that you see the letter pattern, you latch onto it, and therefore psychologically you think it's a B. This is all the power you have before they walk through your door. Now, this is not about being a car salesman. It's nothing about that. This is how you enhance experience, right? And the more you study this stuff, the more you realize, oh my God, like this is why the Ritz-Carlton requires 250 hours of training before their people are allowed to speak to a customer in person or on the phone. Like this is advanced, in-depth stuff that can transform your business, your practice in any industry. So let's look at the new patient call. Obviously, we've got the TC spouse objection, right? They walk in like, I want Invisalign. I really want to do this. Let's go. And then they go through the process. And now it's, I really need to speak with my spouse. And you as a TC are going, crap, here we go. Kind of an off the cuffer for you. I don't have this in today's, like I couldn't pick everything. But TCs, if you get that situation, if you ask mom to take out a phone and video you and you introduce yourself to dad, ask her what a couple concerns dad would have. Have mom video you, you sell your value. Don't let mom leave and sell the value for you. The moms love it. That way mom can go home, press the play button. Now you're introducing the TC, you're introducing yourself, you're going through those concerns, the importance of treatment. So great. Right? But what I'm hoping, what I'm about to teach you here, and this is the power of the receptionist and why the receptionist and treatment coordinator position are one. Same bonus, same pay structure, same training, one position. Because TCs, no matter how good you are, if they don't show up, you can't close them, right? You're not a good TC when you're sitting there talking to a ghost, you're empty air, if you will. Like, that's the power of the receptionist. So how can we use the new patient call to not be a data collector? Right? You should be taking minimal amounts of data and getting off that phone. The majority of your time should be selling your value, why you're unique, convenient. This is one way to do it. Mrs. Jones, we're really happy to invite any other decision makers involved with Joey's treatment to his appointment. They absolutely can come along. And if they can't be here in person, I'm happy to email you a Zoom link right after this call, or we could do a FaceTime, whatever you prefer. And that way the other decision maker can be right here with us to be able to see the value that we provide and give them a great experience like we're going to give you. Right, so here we go, is that the receptionist, are you going to get 100%? Of course not. And that should even be your goal. Your goal is always play numbers, right? Because you all are charging 5, 6, 7, 8 grand, that kind of thing. It doesn't take a lot of tweaks to all of a sudden get $500,000 growth without spending a nickel outside your doors, everybody. tweaking pending, tweaking the new patient call, tweaking the financial presentation, tweaking your culture. All of those lose hundreds of thousands of dollars for businesses, but oftentimes you can't put your finger on the loss. So now we're helping the TC and we're getting more people in through the door, right? That is the decision makers instead of just one, right? Or we've got a FaceTime or a Zoom. This is an example, everybody, of being proactive. Right? We're not being reactive, we're being proactive, and we're tackling an objection that we know we get a lot in orthodontics. TCs are nodding their head right now. Yeah, I hear it all the time. Sometimes I think it's bull. They're just saying that because we missed the mark and they're using it as an excuse. But a lot of times it's real. It's legit. Right? That would be legit in my household. Right? My wife would want to speak to me. So this is how we can proactively end that objection. Now, the other one is increase our same-day starts. Now, when we say same-day starts, what we're referencing is a same-day financial contract, right? A same-day signature, whether that happens in the office or at home tonight, same-day signature. But see, consumers don't know that's an option. We all take it for granted being in the business. Of course, it's an option. But if you're not selling that value, you're not standing out. And again, we're being reactive. So what if on every new patient call, we said, Mrs. Jones or Madeline or Joe, whatever, we know that you're busy and your time is very valuable. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. And our patients really love that we offer the convenience of being able to start treatment at your very first appointment. Right? See, these are power words, power phrases that are being proactive to overcome the roadblocks that are going to get in the way later. See, now we've got decision maker possibly coming. So we check that off the list as not being a barrier of, hey, they said they wanted it, but they're not buying. Next one we checked off the list is now we've really sold the value. And remember, these are power words because we're talking convenience, right? Our patients really love, we've got consensus and edification in there, right? We're talking about how important their time is and how valuable it is. Right? And these are things that are keeping people from buying, everybody. Do I have the time? Is this convenient? Do I trust myself to do this? Do I trust them to do this? New patient phone call receptionist, you have such a unique power to be able to get more people to say yes now as opposed to later. And obviously there's tons more, but those are two that you can pop right by your phone and immediately tomorrow morning or Monday morning, whenever it is, start implementing that right into the new patient call. Now that leads us into pre-arrival in digital marketing. I've shown this video on several webinars before. You may have seen it. But what we're going to be talking about here is a lot of power. And this is sometimes, I just came out with a podcast October 1st, and it's referencing how as a family business, you can really sell that to your unique advantage and create a value proposition around it. And it's free. A lot of times the best marketing is free, right? Asking somebody for a referral, it's free. It's powerful. Asking somebody for a 5-star review, free, powerful. Asking them how their experience was and how we could improve it, free, powerful. Those kind of things. Typically as business owners, pay-per-click, advertising, all this stuff. Meanwhile, there's all this free stuff right there. This is one of them, right? Consumers are demanding more video more than ever before. All ages, 75, 10, love video. They live on it. Right? And there's stats in orthodontics that say, this is from OrthoFi, there's hardcore data that if people know what their insurance benefits are prior to arriving to your office, you have an instant increase in conversion. And you say to yourself, why? Well, that's an example of being proactive because at the end, think about if we go all up that journey, what happens usually? Right at the money presentation. That's when I'm finding out my insurance coverage for the first time, which could lead to I need to speak with my spouse. Right? We have to be proactive with this stuff. And we also need to use communication based on what the consumer is telling us they want. Right now, a practice averaging 30 new patients per month averages 5 new patient no-shows per month. Guys, the no-shows are out of control, and they're out of control because we're not thinking innovatively enough to go, okay, they're scheduling at 3 or 4 or 5 practices. After the phone call and before they arrive, what are we doing that's unique? And typically that answer, unfortunately, is nothing. That's the same way I talk to restaurants. What do you do after somebody makes a reservation for the first time before they show up? Text message reminders, appointment reminder, that kind of thing. Like, no. Head chef should send a welcome video, right? Head manager should send a video. Head waiter, send a video. Like, do some cool stuff, but send them back to your digital marketing YouTube station at the same time. So we're checking off multiple boxes at the same time. Like, that's digital marketing. That's cool. So because it's costing you 360 grand a year or more, by the way, and when you add that to the new patient calls that aren't being converted, that's what I'm saying. Like, before they even walk through the door, I could come in and grow your practice $500,000 next year without touching marketing and just fixing what happens before they arrive. Like, the numbers are that astronomical, everybody. So how can we use all of this data and do it differently? Because like I said, this on the screen is the typical practice. Confirmation calls from the TC or the front desk. And while the front desk is making a confirmation call, they miss an incoming new patient call that you never know about, right? Or they're on the phone when a new patient arrives and they got to give the one finger hold on to somebody, right? It's a domino effect, and it can't work that way anymore. That's not thinking people business experience. That's thinking healthcare. And you don't want to represent yourself as an orthodontic practice. You want to represent yourself as an elite people business that does orthodontics. And when you think that way and operate that way, it is amazing what can happen. So if we take these outdated measures that are causing the no-show, causing the let me think about it, causing and not doing anything to advance your brand or the decision-making process, and turn it into video. And this is why we have to do it, is that consumers want video. According to these two sources, 83% of all ages want it, 90% of Gen Z want it, and they want content, and they want people to use it for communication. So let's take the outdated methods and let's turn it into a personalized video that is more likely to drive customer loyalty, patient loyalty, and engagement than generic pre-recorded videos, or no videos at all. And that's how most are. Right, so here's an example, TCs, that you can turn this in that goes like this.
Good morning, Jonathan and Emma. I'm Stephanie, which is recording here at Williams Orthodontics. I just wanted to virtually pop in and meet you guys. Also let you know I'm going to guide you along the journey, and I'll be doing some research on your benefits. You have $1,500 worth of orthodontic coverage, which is awesome, and going to help us get Emma started right away. I am sure to help. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I can't wait to see you guys on Thursday.
I mean, how beautiful is that? So easy. You can do it in your morning checklist, for all the ones coming in 48 hours. Instead of all these calls, nobody answers anyway. Nobody calls back. It's different. It's unique. It allows you to stand out. And as you're standing out, you're priming them. You're getting a message across. Everyone's saying, hey, when you start with us same day, a convenience of the same day, your insurance coverage is great. All of this messaging, remember, your business is a book. Every interaction you have before and after sale is a chapter. And if you want people to keep reading, each chapter has to exceed expectations. Like, it sounds so simple, but it's very difficult. But very few businesses in the world think of it that way. If the new patient call is intriguing and not a data collection call, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see what happens next. If it's not, and it goes like an orthodontic call, then it's like, wow, they're the same as the other two. I can't make a decision here. I don't even know if I'm going to show up, or I don't even know if I'm going to schedule. Right, so now we've got some things that now we're moving the needle. We've got some cool video communication that communicates their insurance coverage, right? And again, we're checking another. So now the insurance coverage isn't first found out when we're presenting money. Think about that. Think about psychologically as a family. Now mom or whoever can go talk to the other decision maker, and they can sit down and say, wow, $1,500. That's awesome. That's really cool. Puts us in a really good spot. And the way OrthoFi talks about it, and when I speak for OrthoFi, the way I talk about it is now also they view it as a coupon, a discount code. So even psychologically, they're viewing it differently than they do if you hit them at the end of your presentation, which again is typically where they find out the end of the journey, right? When you're presenting money. New patient phone calls helped with that. I need to speak with my spouse objection. Now we're getting more spouses in, right? We're speaking the consumer language. We're off to a really good start. Hey everybody, Brian Wright here. Let's step away and hope you're enjoying it, and hope no matter what business owner you are, from our niche and orthodontics and beyond there to all the businesses we help outside, hopefully you're using your imagination here and going, wow, the things that we're doing are causing let me think about it, all of these interactions that I'm talking about. And when we come back to the show, a lot more that we're going to be talking about. Look, the year is coming to an end, and I want you to make a move. Come aboard with our coaching, our digital marketing, or a combination of both, which is why I founded this company, and let us make real change happen for your business. So many big names trust us out there, but the difference between them and a lot of other people is they take action. They're always looking to improve. Come a part of our mastermind group. All the great things that we do with coaching, the hands-on approach, the role plays, the accountability, the repetition of us getting these innovative ideas used by the most elite level people businesses in the world installed into your practice or your business. Take action. I'm going to put a link below. That's going to be a Calendly link to book time with our VP of Sales, Brian Lewis. I will do my best to be on that call. I always try to be, to meet the prospective customers and make sure you're going to be a great fit in our family, a great fit for the rest of the business owners. The doctors are part of our family. It's time to make real change happen. Stop talking about it. All of the things that are bugging you are solvable. They're solvable, and we can help. Take action. Click that Calendly link, book a sales call with us, book a consultation with us. Let us learn more about what you want to accomplish so we can make your 2026 the best ever. And now let's get back to today's episode. Now they're coming in our doors. And I want to talk about a couple things here before we flip slides. As consumers analyze everything. When my dad was alive, he was an engineer. If he walked in your office and you had a picture that was crooked, he never would have told you this, but he would have been thinking to himself, boy, here's a place that straightens things for a living, yet they can't get their picture correct in the living room or in the waiting room. I'm not buying. Is an instant lack of trust, right? And engineers are very much like that. The perfectionist. Doctors, funny thing, is very much like that, right? They could go into another office and think that, but then go into their own and forget that thought process, right? And just think advertising's the problem when it's not. So when they walk through the door, you've got to have different job descriptions. We teach a concierge model up. We bring the 5-star hotel into the orthodontic practice and teach a brand new job description up there. And that job description takes the wide smile photo, the in-face video visualization. They do a lot. The VIP greeting that psychologically prepares them to buy. If we do a tour, the tour's got to be great. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. But if you do a tour right, it can proactively overcome concerns and objections without being reactive to it. It can use same-day start language, right? It's designed to get them to go, this place is freaking cool. I want to buy from them. All of these chapters are. Right. So my point is, on the arrival, which we're not going to dive really into tonight, is that when they walk through that door, you have to be different immediately. Immediately. You can't do anything the same as my other 3 or 4 opinions. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to go, I'm going to buy from you. I'm going to say, I'm going to think about it because I have 3 other places to go. Like, times have changed. This is the way it is. And I think a lot of people in the industry are like, price shoppers and competition and blah, blah, blah. I say all those things are great because everybody does it the same. So this is an opportunity to use all of those to your unique advantage. So let's talk about digital workflow in the exam processes now. Is remember this saying, because it'll help you a lot. We just talked about it in the Align and Shine event when we were talking exam processes and going through the iTero. This goes for any industry in the world. People don't care what they need until you've convinced them you're the place to buy what they want. Now, this is an exception if Joey is sitting in front of you and it's with mom and it's a referral from a GP and they don't even know why they're there, right? Throw that in the trash. That's an education, all around functionality, need, things like that. Different exam. But many and most exams, especially once you get high schoolers and up to adults, people have specific wants. And to you, those wants may not be what they need, right? I see that in business all the time. I know everybody in the world needs coaching, right? But what do most people want? Marketing, right? Now, coaching's a form of marketing, it's just inside your doors. But you see the analogy there, right? Businesses do not need marketing. They need to do what Michelin star restaurants do and spend almost 100% of their budget inside their doors. So hard to convince the masses, and that's why only 0.00003% of all restaurants have a Michelin star. It's very hard to convince the masses. But if you look at the digital workflow and exam processes, and you say to yourself, look, Gen Z loses active attention span in just 1.3 seconds, according to eMarketer. Which means if you were born between 1997 and 2012 and you're on the webinar tonight, you basically haven't heard anything I've said all night long. So welcome back. I'm trying to get your attention. But you think of this and look at this stat, and most people are like, damn, like, how do we deal with that? I look at that stat and go, you leverage technology. You leverage all the cool things about the iTero. Stop even taking analog photos unless they start. Use the iTero, the Invisalign app, and use 100% of your focus on the iTero machine inside the exam. This is how you do it. Learn all the tools. The iTero is a smart board. You can draw on it if you know what tool to use. There's all kinds of engaging tools. But nobody cares what they need until you convince them you're the place you're the place to buy what they want. Think about this. I walk in, I'm like, hey, wedding in 10 months. I just want my gap in my top two front teeth fixed. I go in, I say that to you, and then I see this. And I think a lot of times offices don't realize it, but then you just ignore it. It's almost like, okay, thanks for letting me know. Here's what you need, right? And you're pulling up the occlusogram and the photos and your Invisalign teeth, all this stuff, tooth models. And people, guys, they're tuning you out more than ever before. And they're not going to tell you that, hey, I'm tuning you out. No, I see it sitting in with treatment coordinators. Like, they're gone in 10 seconds. Like, you've lost it. And you don't even realize it. And we lose it because we're not focusing enough on the want. We're not using the adjust outcome, which is the biggest, greatest, most unbelievable tool the iTero machine has, is the adjust outcome. Every doctor should use it. It should be the first thing used going into an exam if the patient has communicated a specific want. Right, so think about this. If this is what you look like, I've never understood the 4K 50-inch flat screen sitting in the waiting room, the one place that you should invest money to never have people wait and sit, right? And then you get into the treatment coordinator room and you've got this computer that looks like it came out of the 90s. And some of you may be chuckling because this is, the old cabinets. This is the room for a lot of people. And if it is, it's not like you can take a hammer and gut it out tomorrow, but there's still things that you can do to overcome it. You can still hang a beautiful smart board on the wall, right? Invest in the presentation tools to get people focused on you, right? It's hard to get them to focus on you to begin with. It's even harder to keep them focused. It's like winning the World Series in baseball one year. That's hard. Getting back there the next year and doing it, harder, really hard. So the analog processes aren't enough to get people to go, I have two other opinions, but screw it. I'm going to no-show them. I'm signing with you right now. Right? Because when you get no-showed, that's typically what happened. They bought somewhere else first, right? Or, and I see this all the time, the receptionist did not sell the value on why they should show up. Because that's the receptionist's job. It's not to collect data, your GP's name. Like, why do you even ask that? The questionnaire asks that. So why are you asking them questions and then making them fill it out again in the paperwork? That's not a people business. That's healthcare. And that's why people no-show you, amongst many other reasons. So again, job description flip, because the new economy's here. New consumer means different job descriptions, different roles, different training is necessary. So we've got to become digital. Like, this is the exam room, right? Let's have some beautiful modern chairs, right? The iTero, you see the chair there. That's the perfect angle to scan with the iTero. You lay them back too much, the mandibular changes. You don't get an accurate bite. So they should be sitting up like that anyway. You'll get a truer scan and faster. We've got to use the in-face visualization. Doctor chair side has got to use the tools of the iTero. TCs, obviously. And you see the differences between the rooms, right? Now, you could still use this tech in the other room, but just the point is that if we're trying to get people that say, hey, I want Invisalign, I'm searching for it, I'm calling 5 practices, the journey, guys, has to be different. Otherwise, that's when you lose out on price. If your journey is the same as everybody else's, and I know sometimes it's hard to admit it, everybody wants to think they're different and unique. And I'm not saying you're not, What I am saying though is unless you are able to sell that and showcase that, people don't know. So when they say, I want a cheap price, or they say you're too expensive, what that means is we didn't get our value proposition across enough for them to justify the added cost. Right? So you can see even in that case, it's still not about money. It's about value. It's always about value, 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 value. And how can you showcase your doctors better? How can you showcase you're the place to be trusted by Invisalign? What does your experience look like after the purchase? Like there's so many things to think about here. We've got to have our exam room. It's got to be immersive, everybody. It has to be immersive. It can't be normal. This is what I was talking about earlier. People don't care about what they need until you convince them you're the place to buy what they want. If you are not focused in the exam, at least 80, 85, 90% around convincing them you're the place to get that social six fixed, as an example, they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to buy from you. Even if their functionality's jacked, they're going to crack teeth, right? They're going to have all kinds of gum recession, all kinds of stuff from the malalignment. The reality of the situation is you haven't earned the right to educate on that yet until they're like, oh man, that's my smile right there. You're God if you get me there. That's my perfect 10. Okay, Janice, that's awesome. I'm so glad we can get you there. Now let's talk about some things that you may not have seen. Like this is more functionality and need, and it's going to save you money down the road, protect your mouth. Let's go into that. That's when we pull up the occlusogram weather map. That's when we dive into clinical consequences. But we don't do that before. The other piece we're going to get to here in just a minute is we've got to get to know our customer, our patient, our family. I'm going to talk about that here momentarily. Let's talk about the adjust outcome, which I already have, but kind of the process here. So this is Sadia Nayak. His practices are actually very close to Dr. Sean Holiday over in Hawaii. I'll be going here to see them at the beginning of December again. And I like using them because, when you coach for a living, there's nothing greater than coaching people that want it. They want to change. They want to learn. It's like the greatest feeling ever. It's not a great feeling when you're coaching people just because the doctor says, here, I'm paying you to do it. Now you see the difference. Well, this is a practice that implements everything we teach. Virtual OBS, no OBS appointments. Like it's off the cuff. It's out there. But if you look at the data and then implement it, it's crazy. You'll blow up. You will absolutely crush it if you're just open to the change. Well, here's one of the changes. The adjust outcome button, that's where it is. So TC's job is let's show the smile simulation. Let's show the initial kitchen, right? Now let's show the re-rendered kitchen. That's the smile simulation. And it's okay if it's not good, everybody, because that's when you edify, look, this is why the doctors need it. The AI is cool. This is amazing technology. But this is why your investment is in our doctor, because the tech only takes us so far, right? Everyone's worried. Don't show them the outcome simulation. It doesn't look good. It's not supposed to look good, everybody. No different than the initial rendering of a kitchen redesign. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be something that you go back to the potential customer of the kitchen and say, okay, where are we at now? What do you love? What do you still not like? What can we do different? And I say, I want the cabinets a different color. I want the refrigerator on the other side. Switch the stovetop from the island over here, right? Okay. As a TC, I grab that. Doctor walks in. I communicate that in front of the patient. Doctor goes immediately to the adjust outcome and does it. Right? See, that's how it works. Now we're at the perfect 10. You see that, guys? You see, it's no different than trying to get somebody to buy from your kitchen remodeling company. This is the Itero. Original kitchen, initial rendering, adjust outcome. And that also shows how the doctor is the artist. It's a beautiful tool, but it's very different than how doctors typically do the exam, right? And we also can't find out and use this tool unless we're really digging into our patients' lives. We've got to spend time with them to find out what they want. Guys, if you called me and you said, Brian, I really want you to come work with us, right? We want to learn all these new things and role play it and kind of do the A to Z journey different. And I said, okay, what you really need is digital marketing. Would you buy from me right now? Of course not. Even if digital marketing is really what your weakness was, you would not buy from me, maybe even ever, because I didn't convince you we're the place to buy the coaching. You see how this works. And all of these interactions, everybody, they're not going to tell you, like at the end, when they say, let me think about it, they're not going to go, well, if you would have just focused more on what I wanted, right? They're not going to voice. These are not things that, these are not the type concerns they voice. These are type concerns that just happen, right? And it leads to this lack of emotion, this lack of feeling, this lack of know, like, trust were the three most important words you could ever understand in business is people buy from those, refer to those, do business with those that they like, know, and trust. And this is why we make a lot of new clients come to us after listening to my podcast, because you feel like you get to know, like, and trust me on the podcast. And I'm sure there's some people that feel like they don't know me, like me, trust me. If they listen to the podcast, they're like, I don't like this guy, right? We never hear from them. But that's why the marriages with our customers work really well, is we're very like-minded. So Sadia has mastered this, and the conversion is nutso. The same day starts are nutso, but it's not just the adjust outcome, it's the journey. That's if there's anything you take away from these webinars, is that for you to be a true customer experience company, a true patient experience company, it means that you are mapping out every interaction before and after sale, and you are making sure it is unlike anything they would ever expect. And if you do that, you'll never have to spend an advertising dollar the rest of your life. We turn patients into fans that become the sales force. They become the advertisements. And if you think that way, whew, guys, you can overcome anything. Lack of same day starts, you can get them up because of the journey. More cash flow, meaning more money down at the time of presentation. You can do that, but it involves the entire process, not just how you present money. You see how that works, right? So if they're not buying, we're missing out on these opportunities along with several others. Right. The other one on the iTero machine that's so underutilized, and this will lead to a same day start at home, right? They're not going to say this is after. They're like, let me think about it. You've got to say, Madeline, look, your records are all taken, right? And this is another argument for you've got to scan, because if you don't scan and they go into pending, now they've got to come back. Who's going to come back to your office to get a scan when I could sit at home and sign a digital contract with somebody that's already scanned me, and I can pick my payment plan and sign at home? Guys, you're done. They're not coming back, and they're certainly not signing same day. So Madeline, your records are all taken, and that means we can order your aligners without you even needing to come back in.
Let me show you a little bit.
Then we're going to do this.
The QR code. Let's see if I can flip you around here and see if we can watch how this goes. So if you take a look here, I've got pictures that I might want to snap for my family. And so what I can do is go up here in this corner over this direction. I can take a picture of it. You see it goes down in there. And then let's say that I have snapped a few of those pictures throughout my treatment sharing time with them. If I go back into the options here, I can go to the iTero scan report. I choose iTero scan report. All the pictures that I snapped and saved are right here. I can go into the share the QR code. I can go right in here. I want to continue with that. The patient can then scan on that code, and then they can view all. All right, we're going to keep going because of time, but that QR code, everybody, every single person in your exam room, whether they sign or not, should be scanning that QR code and going home with a digital folder of all the screenshots that you put in, from the occlusogram, the outcome simulation, the adjust outcome, et cetera, down the list. They should all go home with that cool digital folder, because again, that's something that the other practices absolutely will not do. Right. That's also those screenshots. When you screenshot it, you can then draw on it like a smartboard. You can type on it. You can type a message and circle something and say, Dad, this is an area of concern. Here's why. Tell Mom, show Dad this. He needs to see this. Put some urgency on that treatment. Because a lot of times, again, people aren't buying today because there's no urgency, right? And this is why when I put together the webinar tonight, I'm like, oh my God, like we could literally talk convenience all night. We could talk sense of urgency, value. So I'm trying to give you a little of everything. Right, paradox of choice. Here's another one. How an abundance of options can actually confuse buyers and delay decision-making. I am not saying don't give options. What I am saying, though, is if somebody says Monday or Tuesday, what do you want? People don't get confused, right? They know their schedule. You want cookies and cream or chocolate ice cream, right? It doesn't confuse them. They know what ice cream they want. What does confuse them is if you're wavering and you're like, yeah, we could do this with Invisalign or braces. You know, we really could go either way. It's up to you.
That will absolutely cause them to go, let me think about it. Right? What we need to do is say, Mary, we can treat this with braces or Invisalign, assuming they're saying, I want braces too, right? So if they're just saying Invisalign, you're going to leave this statement out. Right? But if you were my daughter, I would 100% go with Invisalign. I'm prescribing that to you, in fact, is it's a far better fit for your lifestyle, and also it's going to get you better clinical results in a quicker amount of time. That's what we should go with, Mom. Right? Definitive, authoritative, clear direction. We still gave a choice, but we finished it with a very clear direction on what you should do. You see the difference. People, if you just give them choices, you're confusing them. Even though you feel like you're doing the right thing, and the choice is fine, you've got to finish it. And that last one there, because of your lifestyle, treatment coordinators, your number one job in that room is to get to know people. It's not to sit down and say, what brings you in? Or do you want Invisalign? It's not your job. Your job is to know kid plays baseball, practices 3 times a week, plays games on Saturday. She has a sister that is in soccer and practices all week long and plays games on Sunday. They go to church, right? Dad travels all over the place. So mom's responsible for driving them all over the place, right? And if you know that, you're able to articulate why Invisalign benefits their lifestyle, not just clinically, but just from an experience and a positive memory, if you will. And there's a lot more to that. So let's give clear direction. We can give choices if they're interested in either. We can give choices, but we got to finish it with a very clear direction. And that accomplishes the psychology, the paradox of choice. Now it's time to present the goods. It's money time. You guys ever show, every time I say that, if you've ever seen Jerry Maguire, I still think one of the greatest movie scenes ever is the show me the money stuff. It is, if we had time, I probably would play it, but it is so funny. But now let's show me the money. All right. So now remember, we've got this outdated look to our office, our exam room, and now we got a clipboard. Guys, again, if you have a clipboard or you're operating off an Excel sheet, you are causing people to go, let me think about it. Right now, is this the only thing? No. Again, it goes back to the journey. We got to fix the experience, every interaction before. But this is a big one. We've got to be digital. We have to be flexible. We've got to be affordable while raising our prices. Right? Remember, affordability and flexibility. Right? You could be $20,000 for Invisalign, but if you're and I'm not telling you to be, this is just to prove the point. I'm not saying be $99 a month with nothing down, but $20,000 for Invisalign at $99 a month and nothing down is more affordable than $6,000 with that required $2,000 down payment and $200 a month. Do you see how that works? Right? There's a limit, right? I'm not telling you to charge 20 grand. I'm also not saying nothing down at 99 a month. So don't mistake in that. Just proving the point. Right, so here are 15 financial presentation mistakes. So when we teach how to present money, and I'm going to give you that course here in just a second when the screen pops up here in a minute. Every treatment coordinator I've ever seen in 13 years doing this and before in plastic surgery makes every one of these mistakes. Now, if you're listening, treatment coordinators, it's not a criticism. Like, don't take it that way. These are why, if you obsess and look at your job as a career, you're constantly reading, constantly studying, you'll look at it and go, oh my God, I am. I didn't even know it. And these 15, every one you eliminate, conversion can go up. And it can also increase your same day starts and get people to go, let me think about it, to now let me buy. All right, so the 4 essentials to presenting money to today's consumer. It starts with the good news is courtesy discounts, identify your buyer, and close the deal. And that QR code will take you to this page that will teach you more about it. Right? This flips the financial presentation completely upside down and how it's ever been done in orthodontics before. And the reason we teach it this way, as opposed to teaching it the way it's been done since 1980, is because the consumer is different. They don't focus. They don't pay attention. They don't listen. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, which is another reason I said you got to focus on what they want. You leveraging technology more than you ever have. Even if you don't want to, still got to do it because the data says do it. If you're able to implement well these 4 steps, people will buy from you. If this is the only thing you change tonight, you'll see a bump. Not as much as if you change the journey, But this probably, out of everything I talked about, can have more impact, except for the phones, than anything else if you're just going to pick one. All right. So here's the thing, a couple quick things on this apathy. Because one of the ways you get people to buy now is excitement, and apathy is the opposite of that. It's a lack of feeling, emotion, interest, or concern about something. It's a state of indifference, the suppression of emotions. Right, Mrs. Jones, your insurance covers this. Your out of pocket's $5,000 after insurance. It comes with A, B, and C. Right, we'll throw in some retainers if you start today. We have all kinds of different options. We can finance this at 0%. We got a paid in full discount, same day start discount. Right, it's like it's all over the place. It's information overload. They're already on overload. They're already confused, and that we hit them with a presentation that they can't listen to more than 5 seconds of. Right. So if we want them to pay attention, we want them to start, we've got to change it. And apathy is through verbiage, tone, posture, ambiance, body language, and more. We've got to change this. And we've got to show excitement, feeling of great enthusiasm and eagerness. Like, Madeline, we are pumped for you to become a part of our family, right? Our ortho family. I have some awesome news that will help you get started with Dr. Blevins' prescribed treatment plan. You've already heard this. You saw my TC video before you came in, but just to reiterate, your insurance is awesome. Covers $1,000 of your treatment plan. That's great coverage. Not many of our patients have that benefit. You're really quite fortunate. And it really is going to help you get started with your treatment plan today. You can see it is totally different as a step one than how it's normally done. If you lose excitement or you don't show excitement, you can't expect people to be excited themselves. We've got to be excited. Now, this is easier said than done, right? Boyfriend pissed you off that day. Doctor frustrated you. The team dynamic, like you get the point. Like, sometimes you got to fake it, right? Having a master's in BS, I guess is what you could say. But you get my point. Like, you've got to get them excited for them to buy. The other one is price anchoring. Now, this is a form of anchoring bias. Remember, people latch on to that first thing they see, right? A cognitive bias that causes us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we see, right? And this skews our judgment. We end up interpreting the newer information from the reference point of our anchor instead of seeing it objectively, leading to skewed judgment, right? So this is why we can't present money and say the total price first ever, right? It leads to sticker shock. Anchoring bias, price anchoring, sticker shock, they're all in the same family, or shock or dismay experienced by the potential buyers of a particular product and discovering its higher increased price, right? So it's still not price. It's how we're presenting the price. Long time ago, this was a nail salon. You could find more about this on Google. This was years ago. This nail salon's trying to sell memberships, and they're not making any sales. They're like, what's going on? What are we doing? Is it our marketing? What is it? They hire a consultant. Consultant comes in and says, no, everything looks great. The package is tremendously valued. The price is wrong. Not that it's too high. It's that it's wrong. You're showing $1,068 a year, right? Let's change that to $99 a month, right? Or $140 a month, whatever. Don't get caught up in the number. This particular one was $99 a month. And the most ironic thing about this is not that sales went through the roof after they made the switch from total price to monthly. It's that $99 a month is actually $120 more a year. It's more expensive, but how it was presented was more appealing. You see how this works, everybody. If I sit down and I say, hey, Invisalign after insurance is $6,000, right? You lose me. Especially if I'm a consumer that makes buying decisions via low monthly payments and I don't pay things in full, which is the vast majority of the country. Whether they have the money to do it or not, most people buy low monthly. You got to speak their language. So all of these communications, all of these interactions are leading to people going, I need to think about it. And usually the only thing to think about is, they must have thought it was too expensive, right? It must have been price. It's not price. It's how we're presenting price. It's how we're speaking on the call. It's all these things along the journey, right? Price anchoring happens in the standard presentation. This is typically how people present money. Mrs. Jones, your insurance covers approximately $1,000 of your total treatment fee. That leaves you the total out-of-pocket expense. Expense is a trigger word. You'll learn it in the course, right? What we need to say is investment. Why? Well, an investment comes with a return. And as we speak, our minds work in images. Our brains do not work in words. So in order to get the right images in people's mind, we have to speak the right words, because every word I'm talking to you all night, images are coming into your mind, right? This is an example. When I say expense, not a good word. It's not going to lead me towards purchase. If I say investment, right, that's also a trigger word, but it triggers an image. It triggers a response of I get something, I get a return on this. We want to use the word investment. All of these little words, everybody, by the way, right? If you just put one word, is it going to change everything? No. But if you start looking at every job position in the office and start changing the presentation skills, start changing the words, this adds up to the best marketing. It's so powerful, but it's hard to get people to see how powerful it is because there's a lot of role plays and things like this. But I think most what we're talking about tonight, you'll be able to at least go do it. You may not do it great, but that's okay. You'll learn. You'll keep doing it, and that's all you can do. But where we see price anchoring is when we say the total price as well as the down payment. That's where we get hit with two price anchoring bias scenarios in the presentation. We got to wax that. And those 4 steps will teach you how to do it. One of the ways we do that is Mrs. Jones. We have 2 fabulous options that you can choose from. We have a paid in full courtesy discount that will save you about $300. Or we have low monthly payment options we can discuss. Which would you prefer? Right? That's called identifying your buyer. Are they a low monthly payment buyer like my mom was, or a paid in full buyer like my dad was? You can imagine those arguments. You can see that in the low. I can see it now. Larry, I can't believe you don't agree with this. Bev, I can't believe you don't see my side. Like they would argue about money all the time. It's because they had different philosophies on it. You have to identify your buyer before you can present most effectively, because different words and different presentation skills are required to close my dad versus my mom. Again, all of this goes into that. Now, what if we do get to a scenario where they say, I do need to think about it? Remember, just because they need to think about it doesn't mean we can't get a same-day start. Doesn't mean we can't get them to make a purchase today. But we've got to do it differently if we want that to happen. According to Data AI, over 85% of people value convenience over other factors and are willing to pay higher prices for it. So when you see this, you as a business owner, you as an employee, you should be thinking, what can we do along the consumer journey to be more convenient than other places? Like, this is the mindset. And if your mindset is here and you're constantly studying consumer data, man, the possibilities are so cool. They're so endless, because this is not how people typically think, right? Just like this, most people, when I don't buy today, they're like, bad patient, price shopper, right? Competition. Joe down the street, Mary down the street's taking market share from me because they're doing Invisalign, right? This is the 99%. The 1% are using all these things to their unique advantage. This is another one. When they walk out that door, there's a few things that must happen. One, your contracts must be digital, period. If they are not digital, the first thing you do Monday morning is find a company that is. You have to digitalize your contracts. You have no idea how much money it's costing you by being analog based. In addition, we've got to have a scan. We've got to use the in-face visualization. You can't say we don't have time, because we don't have time is lack of leadership. What a leader does is, okay, we don't have time, it seems. So we're going to time block our schedule to make sure every week we can spend at least an hour together with no distractions, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to role play it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do whatever it takes. And in a month, this is going to be installed at a high level. That's what a great leader does, everybody. So time is not a problem. It's that you're not blocking it to figure it out. That's the problem. We've got to have in-face visualization. We've got to scan. And then we've got to use the QR code so they get all that great digital information onto the phone, right? So now we're set up. We don't have to come back, right? And we're going to talk to them as a TC. Remember, just because you do that doesn't mean they see the value. You've got to sell that value. Right? We've got everything ready to go. Our contracts are digital. You can click a button from the house, Mrs. Jones. You can even pick your payment plan. Choose. It's open choice. We're very flexible. Pick your down payment, pick your monthly payment, whatever's convenient. Click that button, you'll start. We got records taken. We're good to go. You don't have to come back. We'll order the aligners. When they're in, you'll come in and we'll be good to go. Right? You see how convenient that is. So I go home, I talk to my wife, and maybe we have 2 more opinions, and we're like, man, that process was insane. They're nuts. Like, that is next level hospitality. Like, they are trained. You can see it. Let's just buy from them. We can click this button right now. See, this is how people think. This is how people think. It's the same way in the restaurant world. I train them that if the waiters interact and if the touch points interact right, they're going to assume you have great food. That's just okay. I know the food's going to be amazing because of everything else going on. And that's what we teach all of you is be so amazing with the non-food experiences, right? The non-clinical experiences that they assume you're the best clinician. And then because of the power of video, we're going to polish it off with this.
Hey, Emma, Janine here from Olson Orthodontics. I know you just left a little bit ago, but I wanted to tell you thank you so much for coming in today, for taking the time, trusting in Dr. Olson today. It was great meeting you and Carter. He is a super fun kid. I love the jokes that he brought in, and he will really be a joy to have as part of our orthodontic family. As you talk with your husband tonight about treatment plan and things, if there's any question.
And because we're a couple minutes over, I want to respect your time and answer some questions here. But everybody, not only is this going to help you get more same-day starts and solve the puzzle of why they aren't starting, and I know this is hard because a lot of these things are a little bit of a look in the mirror thing, and I know that can be hard. I know it can be hard. That's why marketing companies make so much money, because marketing is like, yeah, it's your problem. Just go get me more phone calls. Everything that we're talking about is from shooting better content to building a better culture to training people and redesigning the job descriptions and the journey. You got to look in the mirror. And I know that's hard. And it doesn't mean you're not good today. It could mean you're great today. But if you're always evolving, always changing, boy, oh boy, you're going to crush it, because most people won't do it. So why aren't they starting? I hope that made sense to everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. This will definitely help you in so many areas. It'll get you more starts, but also solves the puzzle of why they are not starting.